Okay, fine. Now, the average stay of a customer that's at $99 a month is going to be usually, and this is kind of sad, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5-ish months for the industry average. It's much lower than you think it is. And so that means that they've got another $4,000 that's going to come in off of these 8 people. So all we have to do is add this up. So they got 525, they got 800 at the conversion, and then they got 5 more months. I'm actually technically giving them 6, but let's give it to them. That means they were at 4,800 plus that, we're at 5325. Now, if they spent $2,000 to make that, it's okay. You know, they made some money, but they still have rent, they have admin, they have trainers, they have other stuff that has to get factored into this. I'm not even taking into account gross profit here, which is a huge factor. All right, but let's just leave it at these numbers. That's okay. You can kind of compete, you'll live, but you're probably not going to make much. And so this is what I did in the gym industry, and this is what changed the game. I'll put this little number here. So remember we had 100 leads, right? Well, we made 5325, which means the maximum amount of money that we could spend, right, from these would be $53 per lead. Now, you couldn't actually realistically spend that money because you have every other cost in the business you'd have to spend and you'd be losing money. Let's just use that as a hypothetical. And again, I'm just trying to bolster this scenario. Now, what we did was this. Someone would come in and we ran a free 6-week challenge or a 6-week challenge, 42-day detox, 42-day transformation, tons of different wrappers, but basically a 6-week thing. All right, and so let's say we got our same 100 leads. Now, our 100 leads, especially if we had a free offer on the front end, would be usually about half the cost. And so that means that, let's say we were spending, they spent 20 bucks a lead, we'd spend 10. Now, I'm gonna make this the worst case scenario for this one. So let's say we spent 20. We spent the same amount for these leads, even though we wouldn't. Let's just say we did. So we spent the same $2,000 to get these leads. Great. All right, these are our leads. Let's say we convert even less of these leads. All right, let's say that we're gonna convert 15% of these leads. So we're gonna get 15 sales. Now, important point. I had the perspective that when someone signs up for something like a gym, their highest point of motivation is the moment they walk in the door. That is when they're the most deprived of the outcome. They're so in pain that they booked an appointment, they clicked a lead, they opted in, they responded to a phone call, they got in their car, they drove all the way there. They're ready to change. That is the point that I'm not trying to sell someone something for 20 bucks. I'm trying to sell them something for $500, right? The point of greatest pain. Now, maybe it's $5,000, but at this point in my career, $5,000 wasn't in my lexicon, so 500 was high ticket. All right, I'd have 15 people that would come in, and I'd sell them for $500 or $600. All right, so let's just use 500 as simple math. So we would make $7,500. Now, mind you, this is upfront. So that means that if I'm spending this money to get these customers in, I'm already positive. I still have my membership. I still have other things that I can sell on top of that. But remember here, we had to wait a month plus to get to this 53.20.